Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the General Chemistry Successful Practices discussion. We will get started in about 5 minutes. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the General Chemistry Successful Practices discussion. Looks like we still have some people joining us, so we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the General Chemistry Successful Practices discussion. We are going to go ahead and get started so that we can be courteous of everyone's time. I first would like to thank everyone for joining us today. I also want to run through a couple of housekeeping items. This discussion is going to be similar format to our discussion earlier this summer about virtual labs. Feel free to unmute yourself for a discussion or utilize our chat feature and put any questions or comments within the chat. We will be monitoring that. Also, please keep yourself muted when you are not speaking so that everyone can hear the discussion clearly. And I also want to note that this discussion will be recorded and then later posted to our website in case you would like to review later or send to any colleagues that were not able to join. The purpose of this discussion is for educators across the state to share successful practices, concerns, updates, or anything else as we go into fall semester. This discussion will be facilitated by Dr. Brian Leskew from Youngstown State University, who serves as our current general chemistry tag panel lead. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Brian.
Great, thank you, Zoe. So as she had mentioned, this discussion today is an opportunity for everyone to, just to reach out and get a feel for what people have had success with, or where there has been some failures. Zoe, if you would please advance to the next slide. I came up with a couple topics that certainly we could use to see discussion. And one of the things that I was curious about is how different universities across the state are handling TAs, for example. I have found over the years that it's difficult to handle TAs as it is, let alone online. And at Youngstown State, we are staying online for both the lecture and the lab portion of the General Chemistry 1 and 2. Originally, I had thought that perhaps the lab portion could be in person, but given the fact that with COVID being so rampant all of a sudden again, and all these students just standing in the hallways waiting for labs to start, I didn't want to make things worse. So over the summer, I've put together a bunch of labs that my students have done using simulation and dry labs, that sort of thing, just to make sure we cover and enforce topics that are in the learning outcomes for the course. But just to start off, I would like to hear if anyone has any idea, if you have teaching assistants in your labs, how you're going to handle this conversion online.
Hi, Brian.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, feel free to unmute yourself if you have any comments.
Oh, okay, great. This is Ruth Leslie from Kent State. I'm the General Chemistry Coordinator for my department. And so I've had a lot of planning meetings relating to labs and also to lectures. And one of the things that I found in the spring was that some TAs were very knowledgeable about the technology and other TAs had no clue. And I think it's very important, whatever we expect our TAs to do, that we ensure that they have both the proper equipment like tablets and microphones and so on, and also some training in how to use the system. So Blackboard Collaborate Ultra has breakout rooms in it, which you can use, and it's a way that you can be present while your TAs are teaching their sections remotely. You don't have to be there physically, the whole time, but you can kind of look in on a breakout room and see how the TA is engaging students. And that way you can provide both feedback and also oversight, which is helpful.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or regarding, helping the TAs or helping faculty for that matter? So another topic that I wanted to get some feedback on, and to further seed this discussion, is to hear about success or lack thereof when it came to synchronous lectures. I know over this past summer, students would complain that they had to work during class time, and I actually provided links to my students of pre-recorded lectures. So my class time was spent fielding questions, while the lecturing per se was asynchronous. Um, have you experienced, or have any of you experienced this summer, or based on your experiences back in fall, which method you prefer?
Hi everyone, this is Ruth Leslie again. I'm sorry if I'm the only person making comments, but I found it, Brian, to your comment there, that it was very important to have video lectures available to students outside of the normal class time. I basically used synchronous lecture time, and I posted my videos afterwards, and I made them available for 72 hours as a way to try and keep students up to date, because I know it's very easy for them to just binge watch everything at the end of the semester, and then, as we know, that's not going to be very helpful to them. But coming up, based on some remote instruction workshops that I've attended over the summer, I'm going to try a hybrid approach for that. I'm going to have some materials asynchronous, and then I'm going to run synchronous sessions. But again, I'm not going to just lecture for the entire time for them, because as I discovered as a student myself, it was difficult for me to stay focused for the entire 50 minutes. So I think I'm going to be using a combination. I'm going to have some synchronous teaching, then send the students to breakout rooms where they can work on problem solving together, which is what I ideally like to do in my face-to-face classes. And then also have some of the lecture time be asynchronous, so kind of the flipped classroom model. So I guess I'm saying that what I'm going to be trying in the fall is a little bit of a fruit salad approach, and we will see how that works.
Thank you for both your comments. I was thinking of trying the same thing, which I think I heard from both of you, a small amount of recorded lecture followed by synchronous problem solving. Oh, and by the way, my name's Amy Toole and I'm from the University of Toledo. I had a question regarding the Blackboard Collaborate breakout rooms, because I haven't used them before. I know they're available and kind of saw how they work. I have a class of about 175, and I was just wondering if anybody's tried to use that with their synchronous online lectures and had success or not so much regarding that technique as part of the lecture.
This is Roshini, and from even Kent State Tuscarawa. So what I'm planning to do is I'm going to have a synchronized lecture, and at the same time I'm planning to have a question set uploaded into my homework system, for especially for the my classes that we using smart work for the Gen Chem, and then molecules of life we using mastering chemistry. I'm going to complete with the class, and that is going to be due during the same time of the class, but by the class end it's going to be end by the that time, that is the due date and time, and that way it will help student to participate. And I have to figure it out how I'm going to give them points, but this is one of the approach I'm thinking.
Hi, Roshini, it's great to hear your voice. So Amy, the breakout rooms in Ultra, one of the weaknesses is that you can only have a maximum of 20 breakout rooms. So if you have close to 200 students, that will mean 10 students per group, which is not ideal, but it's also not impossible. You can assign breakout rooms. What I've discovered was the best way to use the breakout rooms with a large class like that is to have the students randomly assigned to breakout rooms, which Ultra will do automatically. And then you are going to have, the students are going to have to work with each other within those groups. So you're going to need to tell them in advance that they will need microphones so they can at least speak to each other. you can give them whiteboard access in their breakout room so they can draw on the whiteboard or write on it for problem solving. And for that, they could, of course, use their mouse or an iPad, or you may want to consider suggesting to them that they get a small tablet. You can get small tablets for $20. But the breakout rooms are not going to be so helpful unless they can either type on the screen or write on the screen. And that is what I was planning to do with my class this coming fall, is to have the breakout rooms assigned randomly by Ultra, and then kind of look in on each breakout room during the 15 minutes that they're doing problem solving, and then bring everybody back together to the main room at the end.
And just to follow up, thank you very much. That was helpful. Aside from the fact that there are only 20 rooms that I'll be allowed, did you run into technical difficulties when you sent everybody to breakout rooms or called them back, or did that work pretty well for you? One of my colleagues in a meeting of this sort mentioned that she had significant technical difficulties with that. So I was just wanting to find out your opinion.
So I haven't personally experienced technical difficulties with sending students to breakout rooms. The issue is if you don't assign them randomly and they have to find their own group, they scramble for about 10 minutes to find their group, which means that you're wasting problem solving time. So it's much better just to let them go randomly to groups. Ultra is very abrupt when it brings the students back to the main room. So for that, the class I attended this summer, the instructor would give a 2-minute warning and say, hey guys, wrap up your discussion. We're bringing you back now. And then they would announce, we're bringing you back now, just so that it wasn't so abrupt for the students to suddenly in mid-sentence be yanked back to the main room.
Thank you very much. Excellent suggestions.
Can I add something?
Anyone can ask anything, I'm guessing.
Of course,
Okay.
definitely.
I'm Marty Shingler, and I teach at Lakeland Community College. So I have a little different bent. We have smaller classes. So we have typically, 16 to 24 in the class. And I don't think we have Ultra with the breakout rooms yet. So, and I taught the intro class. So the thing that I had problems with in going from having to go from on campus to remote instruction were those little tidbits that you're able to give in a lecture that you can't give. And I had synchronous lectures. I kept the exact same time that I had the lectures in the class. Those little tidbits that you give in lecture that got lost in the problem solving and in the other things that we had at the breakout. For example, like if we had a mixture and you had a mixture of something that was 0.5 molar and something that was 0.1 molar, it should be intuitive that your answer should be between that, but I would be getting answers that were outside of 0.5 and 0.1 molar. Those were the tidbits that I'd be able to give in class, but you get those answers and you pull your hair out when you're grading papers. That's the type of richness that I missed in going online to a remote environment. That's the type of stuff where I say, how do I get those little tidbits in and going remote that I missed and able to throw out when I was live? I guess that's just my little, how do I do that type of thing? All those little bits and pieces that aren't in a textbook, those little pieces and pearls of wisdom.
So Marty, this is Laura Morris from Cincinnati State, also a community college.
We have similar class sizes, and I agree with you on that. And I think one thing that would help is if students were able to use the whiteboard. So I was interested to hear somebody say you can get tablets for $20. I'm unaware of that. What kind of tablet can we get for $20?
Yeah, because I have a Wacom tablet that I spent like $80 to get. But yeah, where can we get a tablet for 20?
Because then you would
Okay,
be
so-
looking at what they're doing at the time, right?
Yeah, I can answer that. So I used to have, well, I still do have my Wacom Bamboo tablet, which I don't use anymore because it doesn't interface very well with Blackboard Collaborate. I have a small XP Pen tablet. It is small. It's a mini tablet, which is great if I'm traveling and I need to run an online session. To me, that would be adequate for a student because all the student would be using it for is maybe writing on your whiteboard, and those are $20. Then I have my much larger XP Pen, which I bought for $60. So there are tablets available for much less money, but they are small ones. But I think they would be adequate for students.
Yeah, I think that that would bring back some of that sort of instant interaction with the students that we're used to.
Right. Right. And so one of the things that I found, well, two things that I found on this course that I attended over the summer. One way that you can, so for example, Marty, you were talking about getting answers that are way off base. Blackboard Ultra allows you to run a poll. So you could give a multiple choice options and have the students vote for a particular item. That way you could see if they were picking answers that are way off base or close to what you want. Now, if you don't have Ultra, there are other things that you can do to engage the students during your class. One is to put up, you just put up on your whiteboard and have the students use their mouse to circle the option that they vote for. And then you end up with a nice big tangle of stuff on the screen, but at least you can see, are most of the students getting the answer? Are there some students getting a specific wrong answer? The students feel engaged. It breaks up that 50 minutes of just having to focus. So even if you don't have Ultra, you can try little tricks like that. And then the other thing in the live class that I've used for large classes is to play games like Kahoot. You can still do that. You could still have the students play the Kahoot on their phones while you have it up on the screen while you're teaching, as a way to kind of poll answers, and then maybe that jogs a thought about something, a little tidbit that you want to give them, and it maybe helps to remove a little bit of that barrier of the screen between you.
Thank you.
This is Sumitra Vasu from Kent State. If I just share my current class, that's Gen Chem 2 that's going on. So I tried that approach of using a pre-recorded lecture, but then the problem is that the summer class, it will not be a problem as much in fall or spring, is 2 hours, 20 minutes each day. And I have like 7 people in my class that work whole night in the warehouses. So they come like all like completely exhausted and everything. They don't even have a time to go over the lecture. So even if I put it there before, I still have to go through that during the lecture time. And then then what I do is that's my time that I'm offering. So essentially I do a 2.5 hour of office hour and problem solving every day, and more before the exams. So that's what I try to do to cover. The main problem I see is that like when you are in live, there is a thing called body language. We can more or less look at a student and figure out whether the student is following or not focusing or anything. And because of this, you can't, because Blackboard, for example, only allow, I think, 4 at live. So that's a problem, obviously, because they can see me, I do video, but then I don't see them, what they're reacting to, like, they're following or whatever they're doing. So that's completely a black box there. And then the other problem is during the exam. So how do you do the exam? So obviously Blackboard, you cannot see them. So I use Zoom for exam, where you can have everybody on screen. And obviously my class size is about 32, so I can still see everybody's face and what they're doing. But if someone has like 170 students, obviously that's not an option either. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. How do you even conduct, to me at this point, one of the biggest challenges, how do you conduct the exams and maintain their integrity?
Yeah, this is Brian Lescu again. The exam delivery is one of the topics too that I wanted to touch base with everyone. I used Connect through our publisher to handle the exams. And in the spring section, I was just amazed at how much better some students did online compared to when we still had in-class exams. And of course, I was guessing that they were working together. And one of the ways to combat that, what I did, because I had a class of 200, I couldn't use Zoom or anything. I just made extra questions. I just made time to be the real factor, in that they wouldn't have the luxury of talking, with each other to answer questions. Now, of course, that does punish students where they feel rushed, but yeah, exams are a huge issue for this, and I think they are the biggest issue in many ways. So I don't have a solution for this one just yet.
This is Laura Morris again. I'm pretty sure that I had at least one, possibly two students in the spring who had someone else take their exams for them. So I did many of the things you're talking about, where I had extra questions and I did pooled questions and made sure that they didn't have a lot of time, but somehow this person was working with someone who was feeding her the answers, I think, and then being typed in, and really no way to monitor that. We were using Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. And so again, you can't have everybody on screen. Even if you could, I'm not sure I would have been able to see that.
I have one question. First of all, my name is Tom Carr. I teach at Northwest State Community College. And the question I have is, does anybody here have experience doing testing using the Sakai platform? Anybody?
Can you spell that for us, Thomas?
S-A-K-A-I. S is in Sam, A is in Adam, K is in Kappa, A is in Albert, and I as in
Indiana, I guess. I'm not familiar with the platform. Can you describe it a little bit for us?
Well, it's something that is, I would guess, related to Blackboard, but it's substantially different. And I've been trying to do online testing. It's basically when you have a series of problems, we could do something like true, false, multiple choice, or what have you. And trying to, at least in my experience, coming up with, I like to say, fair and meaningful exams has been a challenge for me. Okay, first of all, I have a real trouble coming up with, how should I say it, if there's calculation involved, coming up with something that has a, that the student can show me what they're doing. Like normally in a face-to-face class, I'll put down a problem and then I can see their work and I can say, all right, here's where they made a mistake, and I can assign partial credit. I can't do that with Sakai. At least I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
So does Sakai allow multiple choice type questions where the student can choose more than one correct option?
So, so we're talking about like, say, multiple choice and give multiple answers. Is that
There are some platforms that would allow you to code more than one answer as being correct. Because if that's the case, the way I've got around that, because I write materials for a lot of the publishing companies, one of the ways I get around that is to take a multi-step calculation problem, and I'll give them 6 options, and I'll say, which of the following are valid steps in your problem solving process? Which of the following quantities do you need to solve this problem? And then the next question might focus on actual numbers that they might get, and try to get at their process of thinking through the kinds of questions that you ask.
Okay, so in other words, you're recommending the approach of taking it like, say, step by step. Like if I'm trying to do stoichiometry, for example,
Yeah.
Okay. As an intermediate step, how many moles of product do you expect to get?
Yeah, and I mean, my problem with that, of course, is that normally you would expect them to come up with the steps on their own. So it kind of does take some away of the something away from their problem-solving process that you're expected to see. But I think it's better than just giving them, one shot at getting the right answer. I don't know. I'm sure other people have maybe better suggestions.
Well, see, the problem with that is if you start breaking it up into steps, and I had this experience where on a 100-point exam, okay, you start coming up with 50 to 60 problems that have like a 1-point answer. And at least that hasn't worked terribly well, at least in my estimation. I'm wondering if there's a better way of doing that. If somebody has an idea about how to do proper testing, for multi-step problems like stoichiometry, like you're doing solution phase chemistry, okay? That sort of thing.
This is Amy Toole again. Oh, sorry. This is Amy Toole again. I'm not sure this is a better idea, but we had 3 sections of about 150 students taking general chemistry in the spring. We used Blackboard, not Sakai, as our learning management system. But what we had them do outside the testing itself was within X number of minutes, they had to upload their work. And then instructors and TAs graded that. Not ideal, but it was doable and got at what you were talking about.
Yeah, see, now, one thing I did try this past spring semester, because in transition, we went from face-to-face to online in the mid-semester, and I tried having people submit their written work and as email attachments, and that didn't. That was an enormous amount of work that was, really quite challenging for me, because if you have TAs, that's great, but basically I'm by my lonesome. Okay, is what way it amounts to, and so again, I'm looking for someone who has had experience with Sakai or something similar to it, and how would you manage? To do testing in that way.
I just want to make sure that everyone's seeing the comments in the chat. Amy from Hawking College said that she used Blackboard extended and had them do extended response where they had space to show their work. It took more time to type out, but it allowed them to at least show their work and get partial credit.
Okay. So should I look for an extended what was it called again? Extended response?
I think she created an extended response question that allowed them to kind of type in their answers. So if they typed in their work, they could show their work.
Okay.
You just might have to be more mindful of some extra time for typing it in.
Okay.
And I'm not very familiar about that the system you're using, but in Blackboard we have a icon. It's called assignment. Once you post the assignment, you can submit into the Blackboard. That way you don't get lots of email. So it's going to be in the Blackboard. So it's much easier than receiving answer to your email. That is one of the facility we have in the Blackboard. I'm not sure whether you might find that facility in your system too.
Okay. Okay, I think for the moment, I think I have some things to look into. So thank you for your input, guys.
I just have maybe one remark. I was just that's Dirk Friedrich from Kent State. I haven't done much in spring because I didn't have that many students, but I've been using Blackboard quizzes, and I just looked up the types of questions that you would have in Sakai, and it's pretty much the same. So first off, again, there's a short answer essay question. where students can just answer the question by typing in the answer. You do have multiple selection questions, which I find are good as well. And you mentioned that you had at one point had them upload their written work in form of email attachments. There is also a file upload question. So if you want to do that, you could incorporate that and have them upload scans of their answers on Sakai as well. But what I found the question that are good workarounds is if you employ matching questions or fill in the blank questions where you just type out sentences and you leave certain gaps for them to fill in, and you tell which ones are the correct answers. Because I found that these types of questions, they really, so you really have to understand the material to answer these type of questions. And you can also, they'll be different from student to student. So you can, it can be scrambled, and you can have several versions for all of the different students.
Okay, so would you mind repeating your suggestion, sir?
So I found that the matching type questions and fill in the blanks can be good workarounds if you want to test certain topics, because the students do kind of, they need to know the material in order, for instance, for those fill in the blank questions. If you leave out certain words in a narrative, I feel first off, you make it your own. That it's not easily looked up on the internet what the answer would be, and they have to know the material. And yeah, these matching questions or is where you give them, let's say, several definitions, and then they have to match the terms these definitions refer to. And that's not that easy as well, and you have to know the material definitely quite well for these types of questions. But yeah, I mean, if you want them to show their work, just do short answer essay questions.
Okay.
Or the file upload questions. Then they can just upload a document file or whatever, or a scan. And that's just easier to keep everything in order.
Okay. Thank you.
Thomas, I just want to make sure too that you can see the chat, because it looks like a lot of people are kind of throwing some suggestions into the chat as well.
This is the first time that I'm using Cisco WebEx. I'm much more used to Zoom. Let's see, where would I?
There should be a.
Is this under share content?
There should be, on where you can see like the participants on your right side, you should be able to pull out the chat panel as well.
Chat. Okay, let me see. Chat.
Chat should be an option at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, okay.
The comment strip bubble at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, I see.
Perfect.
All right.
Can I make a comment on something I did to catch some students who were cheating?
Of course.
For those who use Blackboard and the assignment feature, I had two students who on a prior exam I thought were cheating, and I was like, should have said something. Well, I mentioned it to the class about some suspicious assignments. So on the final, what I did was I had three versions. I had one for most of the class, and then for student A, I had it as final underscore exam with some scrambled questions and different numbers. And then for another, I had final dash exam. But for student A, I had it as a separate assignment, and student B, I had it as a separate assignment. And for the rest of the class, I had it as theirs. But I did it as, what's the thing that you have to do on Blackboard? Adaptive release. Adaptive release on Blackboard. And student B submitted student A's exam in his own assignment. So one of those where it was just like a bulletproof way of catching these two students cheating. So that was one of the things that I did is gave these two students separate exams under their own assignments with the adaptive release feature on Blackboard. So if you're comfortable with doing that, that's a little trick that I did, and it was bulletproof way of doing it. They both confessed like within 2 hours of being confronted about it from our dean of students.
Has anyone attempted to put together different types of experiments for online activities, or if you wanted to share some source of online activity? Kind of more of an extension of what we initially talked about back in May. I'm just curious to know what people are trying to do for content for lab.
Can I weigh in here? That's Dirk Friedrich from Kent State. So I am planning on giving a completely virtual general chemistry lab in fall, and I have decided to use the Hayden McNeil platform from Macmillan. They have a good variety of virtual experiments available, and I can't tell exactly if everything will work well yet, but overall I found that it's appropriate for what it is. It's not ideal, but it's appropriate. So that's Hayden McNeil. I can post the link in the chat if you want to.
So again, this is Laura Morris, Cincinnati State. What we're doing, because we essentially don't have money to spend on this, I think, is that we're videotaping many of our existing labs and trying to rework them in terms of what the student does for the assignment. So we've been in the labs, because we don't have TAs either. We've been in the labs making videos of our experiments, and we hope to have students be able to actually be familiar with our labs. Hopefully we're back in the spring or whenever they would come back, but they'd be able to actually read some data. We want them to keep a lab notebook as we would normally require and things like that. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I think we did a little bit of this in the spring, and it's tough, but that's what we have. And so I will get back to you later on whether that worked well or not.
Looks like a couple of resources have been shared in the chat as well. PhET, also ACS, and then Hayden McNeil.
One of my students who I currently have, they're a transient student, and they were very pleased to be able to use the videos that I had recorded, because at their home institution, all they had was synchronous lecturing, and I think it's again really important to give these students the opportunity to go at their own pace. Of course, the better students will do fine anyway. But even now, I keep finding these students waiting to the last minute because I can track the number of views on the videos, and I just try to make the best of it. But it's certainly hard.
This is Janice Denton from the University of Cincinnati. We have recorded our labs as well because we wanted the students to see inside the lab. We've did our best as amateur photographers to make sure that at least for the first few data points of any experiment, that they were reading the data off the instrument, off the Spec 20 or whatever. And then we took the advice of some of the folks who were on this call the first time, talking about making sure that we were asking questions about safety procedures that we weren't being explicit about, but we wanted the students to observe the instructors who were doing the labs doing, and things like that, in an effort to make sure that the students were observing what was going on in the lab while the experiment was being conducted, as well as just taking the data and analyzing it afterwards. We tested a few of the experiments out on some of our students over the summer who were looking for honors type projects, and we've received really good feedback on it, including the fact that they liked being able to see their instructors or their teaching assistants, and they liked being able to see the experiments in the lab. It gave them a sense of connection, and they also enjoyed being asked questions about what was going on and things that they had to spot in the lab. So who knows what the fall is going to bring when we release them into the general population. But it was a chunk of work, but we're reasonably pleased with what we've produced and are ready to test them in the fall.
That sounds pretty cool.
The other thing that made it really easy, I'm getting the sense from this conversation that many folks are using Blackboard, not Canvas. We use Canvas, but the quality of the videos that you can shoot using your phone are just incredible, and that's what we used. And then those videos can be uploaded straight into the Canvas app on your phone. So there's no messing around with technology trying to transfer it between devices. And so it really has been a very simple, straightforward process.
Does anyone else have anything to share? Or any other questions that you want to talk about?
Looks like somebody asked for the people who had put some different links in the chat to maybe elaborate on them. So if anyone could do that, I know we've already heard from Dirk, but if anybody would like to elaborate on some of the links that they put in, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Norma Gatica. I am at Cuyahoga Community College, Western Campus. And I don't teach general chemistry. I am in charge of GeoB chemistry. And I selected, I used during the summer a platform that is called LabFlow. And I would recommend it for everybody because to go and see it, you can go into the web and look for LabFlow in oneword.com. And it's a platform that is interesting because it can work in both ways. It can work with the students that are going into the lab and performing the experiment, and also with the students that stay at home, like now that we are having, that we cannot attend the lab. And the experiments are they extracted the experiment from open resources, and they are quite traditional experiments, but they created a software around them. They have a supporting videos that you can have for each one experiment, and students can watch those videos, a lot of videos about safety. So it's something Like if you call them in advance and you tell them what class and what is the experiments that you want to use, they kind of create your course using these videos and using question quizzes for the pre-labs. And the report, part of the report is particularly interesting because it can be handled by only one instructor, like is my case, but for the big universities can be handled by different TAs. So I just thought that it was interesting to mention this different platform. I don't know if somebody else is using it.
Hello, everyone. This is Amy Moore from Ohio State. Our plan for the summer is a lot like everyone else's. We've recorded videos. That way we can share the information with our 177 sections of lab. That's about 5,000 students this coming semester. I wanted to go back and hit one thing that I thought was really important. And for us, I think one of our most important things is going to be properly training our TAs since we have such a large number at the beginning of the semester. So we're really going to focus on Zoom training, showing our students how to utilize Canvas, and trying to have as great a semester as we possibly can.
Do we have any other questions, comments in regard to fall?
Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody mentioned a platform that allows one to use a like a cell phone or what have you to as a recording device to create videos. Would you mind spelling out what that platform is, please?
This is Janice Denton. I think it was me. It's not the platform. It's your phone will record the video, and then you have to get the video into your learning management system. If you're using Canvas, which I'm not sure how many.
How do you spell that, please?
Spell what?
Cathos.
Canvas. CANVAS.
Oh, okay.
But many people, I've only heard my colleague from the Ohio State mention Canvas. Canvas makes it easy to get from your phone into the learning management system. Perhaps somebody else would be able to speak to how easy it is to move into any other management system.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Kate Majoritsky. I teach at Bowling Green State University. What I've been doing since spring is using my phone to record videos, pretty much of myself, doing introductory lectures for all the experiments, and also to perform the procedures for students to watch and get data from. And I also use Zoom feature to show them the display of an instrument. We use data loggers so they can see what data would look like. I would then upload my video to YouTube, and then you can use any learning management system to provide a link for your students to YouTube. So you don't have to have Canvas, although Canvas now has an enhanced feature called Canvas Studio that allows you to presumably get better quality of videos. But I am planning to still use YouTube, because then I created my own channel and I have all the videos in one spot so I can find them easily and get the links posted on Canvas for my students. And I just used my iPhone, and quality is very good for those videos.
One thing that we haven't mentioned much, this is Amy from Ohio State again. I didn't mention that we are having an in-person, a few labs that are gonna be in person. We're gonna be doing, I think, 3 labs because in person this semester because our lab sections are so large. I was wondering what other universities are doing. Are you having an in-person portion, or is everything going to be virtual?
This is Almond Brathwaite from Cuyahoga Community College. I am the Associate Dean, and we have identified organic chem as some in-person labs. We've also identified some in-person labs for biology and some in-person labs for veterinary technology. And so we did a walkthrough with our compliance department, and we've reduced many of our labs from 24 to either 12 or 10 students per a lab session.
Hi, this is Kate Majoritsky from Bol University again. Right now, we're planning on having some face-to-face general chemistry labs at 50% capacity. So when working with the calendar that university provided, we're going to go full online after Thanksgiving, like many schools I think are doing. So I'm planning on having 5 labs face-to-face each in General Chemistry 1 and 2, which means the students will be coming to lab every other week, hopefully instead of every week. And on weeks when they don't come to lab, I'm planning on having them to do a virtual lab where they would watch a video or perform some sort of simulation. I've used some free simulations in the spring, which I'm hoping to use again. So it's going to be a combination of face-to-face and virtual labs.
Have you made provisions for moving all the labs completely online if there is a COVID positive student or instructor in the class?
I'm thinking about having to record all experiments, all the procedures, and I am currently recording all the pre-laboratory introduction. So I'm hoping to have all the videos of all experiments and all pre-lab instructions available through Canvas.
So I'm wondering whether you will have the normal layout of the lab. Like, are you trying to make any kind of social distancing, or you'll meet as a regular lab would do?
Yes, it will be social distancing because we're going to be at 50% capacity.
Okay.
So that allows students 6 feet apart.
Yeah, we've gone through the process at Tri-C of actually coming in with a team, take measuring tapes and have stickers and placement where the students will be placed in a certain distance away from each other and away from the instructor to make sure social distancing is maintained. I haven't met with the faculty yet because the faculty have been away from the campus, but definitely before we return for the spring, I will be meeting with the individual faculty who are teaching the class and ask that they become sort of the social distancing police for now so that we can maintain that and keep everyone safe.
I think the challenge is that the labs are kind of a mobile situation. In a lecture room, everybody sits there and then comes in, sits there and leaves. Whereas in the lab, it's very difficult to stand at one place and do the experiment unless the whole how the lab is conducted is changed, because people have to move to use instruments, people have to go to get reagents. So there is a constant movement. So That's why I was curious how you intend to do that and still maintain the distancing all the time.
We aren't 100% clear on all of that. We are thinking that for the most part, since we've, like the other institutions, we're reducing almost by half. We can possibly have all the reagents on carts that students can access. I again haven't met with the faculty who are going to be doing these labs just yet to work out some of the logistics as to keeping students and faculty safe, which is our #1 priority. And of course, we don't have the huge numbers that big institutions have. We're at the community college level, and so we don't have to grapple. And we've kept it not all of our labs, so that for example, for organic chemistry, we're just running one section of organic chemistry, and that's it. In the biology, where we have multiple sections, we are running 3 sections that will be on ground, and remaining sections are online. And those are capped at 12 for each section. So there's 36 students that will be doing the on ground, and the remaining students will be online.
Has any institution looked into using face shields as opposed to using masks? I know that's something that has been discussed.
I think Nancy is online. You want to speak to that, Nancy?
Sure. My name's Nancy Doherty. I teach at Tri-C both general and the GOB and organic chemistry. Our institution, one of our engineering areas has been printing actually face shields, and there is a lot of good evidence that face shields are better from a chemical splash perspective. So I'm going to have face shields for my students in organic, plus instead of having them wear goggles, which they can't seem to stop touching, I'm going to have them wear impact glasses underneath that. And if students want to, they could also wear a face mask under there. The stuff I've read suggests that the face shields are as good at protecting transmission plus chemistry, or lack of chemicals, keeping chemicals away.
That's not true.
Sorry, I just need to tip in here. Everything I've read says that the face shields on their own are not good enough. There was a paper that I've seen about it, a study done at a restaurant where people who wore face masks only, people who wore shields only, and then people who wore both. There was a huge spread of COVID amongst the people who only wore the face shields. Because
well, I'd be interested in seeing that. I do know that it depends on how long the face shields are. I have seen some data on that.
So think about this.
You're still breathing the same air, and in a confined environment, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen any data that suggests there is a comparison of face shield versus.
I will find the article, but I read it and I read it thoroughly. If you think about it, if you wear a face shield, you're still able to breathe those aerosols and drop them on the floor. If people are close by to you, there's still a possibility. I'm not trying to argue science here. I just think we need to be extremely careful about making statements that say, oh, well, face shields are as good as or better than, if we don't know that that is absolutely true. If there is a comparative study, we need to look at it. Otherwise, we're giving false information to our students.
Agreed. And I've seen the stuff I saw was much earlier on. I have not looked at it. This was in April. I was looking at that material. So I appreciate, Ruth, if you'll share. Thank you.
Sure, I will. I'll find it again. I was reading it the other day, and it sounded very interesting.
Do you know where it was?
Back of my head, can't think right now. We'll find it.
All right.
But I do think masks with face shields would be a lot more comfortable for the students than masks with goggles.
Agreed. And less likely that they're going to touch their faces.
Yeah, and you know how the goggles fog up already? I can just imagine a mask with goggles. We'll have another safety issue because students won't be able to see.
We've had some people bring up in the chat about a 3-week rotation with labs. Also, some discussion about in a lab walking past each other while wearing masks, kind of like in the store, is okay. It's more the standing close. Would anyone else like to share about labs on their campus for fall, or contingency plans if we go all online, anything like that?
I just sent a link from CDC. It doesn't even recommend using face shields because lack of enough data to suggest the comparison between face shields.
Thank you.
I do have one question. Is there any plans to have a follow-up meeting like this? Say, like maybe, I don't know, early October timeframe, mid-semester, to kind of compare notes and experiences again?
We currently don't have anything planned, but we are open to suggestions if people would be interested. We're just kind of playing it by ear, depending on how long all of this goes on. We thought there might be a need for after the semester if we go into another spring semester like this, but we don't have anything definite planned as of right now.
I would like to suggest it because I think there would be value in, because I picked up some valuable tips, I think. And so I'm going to try to talk with our administration here at Northwest State, try to implement some of this, and let's compare notes, guys. Let's see if what we're discussing here works for us, and if it doesn't work, what will work? Because we just don't know. I'm hopefully, given some of the recent announcements that have been made, there's just some encouraging news about a vaccine. Okay, if that comes to pass, then maybe such a meeting isn't needed. But if it doesn't work out, well, then maybe as a group we should get together again. Any thoughts on that?
Zoe, this is Paula. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I work with the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and could you tell me the best day and time if we were to do this? And also, these meetings are only as good as you make them. And if the chair of general chemistry would facilitate the meeting again, that would be helpful. But if you could give us some idea of the time and what day.
How many people are teaching on a Friday? Because a lot of places, ours included, are trending more toward Monday through Thursday and leaving Friday pretty much open.
We could send out a survey too to identify when people are available.
Okay.
I still don't know exactly what I'm teaching in the fall, so.
Okay. Well, we'll think about it as long as you tell us the right day, and we'll do a survey in the time. It seems like we've had a really good discussion today, and if it's helpful, then definitely we want to help. So we will look into that for you all.
I am looking at our list of discussion topics, and hasn't really been brought up much about maybe faculty changes on campus and how that's affected different departments and things like that, if anyone has anything to share in regards to that topic.
No,
No, but I can just contribute one thing. I'm looking for that article that I wanted, and I see that there is currently a raging debate between various scientists as to the relative efficacy of masks versus face shields. So I guess nobody's decided yet what the ultimate answer is.
one of the things that happened at Youngstown State is that a lot of the part-time people were not called back, but there still are a lot of sections without instructors, so that's certainly something that could change. And that will certainly impact, the labs. Although a lot of our labs are taught by teaching graduate students, there are some who are covered by, or several sections are covered by part-time people. Does anyone else have any other topics you'd like to discuss? I've taken a lot of notes, and I also feel that this was certainly worthwhile. And I would be definitely interested in doing this again in, say, a few months.
Are we going to expect like Department of Higher Education organize this? If any follow-up session?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it seems easy enough. It's kind of along the lines of the tag panel. That's where this all started in the first place.
My thought is that, sometimes it's good to just have someone say, this is when we're going to do it. Okay. And then people will adapt. If we kind of leave it up into, well, maybe let's do it for this week or the particular day, what have you, it doesn't get done. So someone has to basically say, this is what's going to happen. This is when it's going to be. And then people will make the adaptation in terms of their scheduling.
I can assure you, we will follow up. We've offered 2 of these, and we heard you. I just need to do a doodle because some people said they couldn't commit to a Friday, and I heard you wanted to do it in October, and we will follow up if we can, and we heard you. So I think your point is well taken. That you want to make some kind of have someone make a commitment. We've done 2 of them. It's just that we didn't feel like we would be doing one every month, but October, that's fair enough. And I heard your chair say that he's willing to help us again. And it's easy enough for us to set this up for you. So we have your email addresses. We know how to find you. It's just finding the date and time. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I wasn't implying that you guys weren't on the ball about things. I was just saying,
I know.
and instead of leaving something open, let's settle on a date. Somebody settle on a date. Okay. That's all I was implying.
You didn't hurt our feelings at all.
Oh, okay, good.
There was no way you would hurt our feelings. So I just wanted you to know that we will follow up. It's just that I would have been happy today to say it's going to be on a Friday on a certain day, but I heard people say, please wait and do a doodle, so we can do that.
The previous meetings are still available online. They're on our website. We changed the format a little bit so it'll take you to a YouTube video. Let me find that link and I will put it in the chat. Do we have any other topics that we'd like to discuss?
I just want to thank you all. You should all be very proud of yourself, how hard you've been working to help the students of Ohio. And I could tell you've been putting a lot of thought and effort into everything you're doing, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you very much. It's very valuable to have discussions like this.
I agree. Thank you so much.
I also found on that, this is Brian Lester again, I found the XP pen on Amazon. I wish I would have found this a month ago.
I'm so sorry, Brian. I had the Bamboo tablet and I was looking, it just doesn't interface properly with Collaborate. And so I thought maybe I need to upgrade it. And then I saw the price of them. And so I was looking for alternatives and I stumbled on the XP pen and I couldn't be happier with it.
Yeah, for literally $40, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was able to get my my Wacom for like 80, and that came with 3 pieces of software, 3 really nice pieces of software. So
Okay, that's great.
yeah.
Yeah, I find that I use mine on the whiteboard in Ultra, but I don't like Ultra's whiteboard very much because it doesn't save what was on it. If you go to a new page, if you navigate to something else, what you wrote is gone. So I use a sketchbook, and I share that application with my students when I'm writing. It's much kinder to my handwriting than Collaborate.
Yeah, I use OneNote because OneNote is continuous as you go, so it scrolls continuously. And then when I'm done, I save it as a PDF and then post it on Blackboard.
Sure. Yeah.
And then with OneNote, you could change the pen size and color also. So that's why I do OneNote also that way.
Yeah, you can do that in Sketchbook as well, and I like that very much. The other thing is, with me, if I find I've written too low down on the slide to begin with, I can select everything and move it up to the top of the slide in Sketchbook. So it's much more versatile. And or if I can copy the last line and put it on the new page, which means that there's a continuation for me and for the students, which is very helpful.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Thanks.
Yeah.
I've had success just using Word. And of course, you can save that to PDF as well.
Of course you can, yeah. Yeah. My cyclohexane chairs, however, look just as bad on the tablet as they do on the board.
So at least you're consistent, right?
Oh my gosh. I feel bad taking points off students for not being able to draw chairs properly when I'm not very good at them myself. Anyway.
Well, thank you, everyone.
This was very helpful. Thank you.
Just want to thank everybody for joining us. And if we don't have any other discussion topics, we'll go ahead and end a little early and you get 15 minutes back in your day. But we will be reaching out about a future discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zoe.
Bye.